الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ومن سار على نهجه مقتدى بسنته وهديهم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, my dear respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are still continuing our series entitled Immigration and Integration, Al-Hijra wal-Indimaj. And we are trying to cover in this series the most important strategic work of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions over the course of 10 years in the Medina. The work in building the Muslim community identity in all aspects, and how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam interacted with all the different groups of the Medina society, Muslims and non-Muslims, while he balanced the preservation of Islamic identity and citizenship. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we will continue covering the fifth strategic project that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam carried out in building the Muslim community identity. That project was the Madinah Media, I'lam al-Madinah. In the last episode, if you recall, we defined the media as the means of communication that reach or influence people. And we saw how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam utilized the media from day one and utilized all the available media channels and tools at his time and within his reach sallallahu alaihi wasallam to convey the da'wah and to spread his message to all people. And we saw how he sallallahu alaihi wasallam used the media through the masjid, through the Jum'ah prayer, mimbar, adhan, and even a creative community media that he introduced, and we consider it like an old format of the social media that we have today, using the word of mouth, where he initiated that with the famous hadith, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً, convey on me even one verse, one ayah. And we mentioned that how the companions were practicing the honesty and accuracy in conveying these type of messages in general, and even in particular the message of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his hadith sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they conveyed that message with a high precision in of words and even feelings. And I gave at that time an example of the hadith that narrated by Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu ardah, when he rode the camel and he said the riding dua, and how he laughed at the end of the hadith, the way that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he laughed. So as you see over here, the media, and that's what we conclude with, that the media in Islam has morals and ethical dimensions in conveying the message. And one of them is honesty and accuracy in conveying the message with words and feeling, the way that we explained it about the companions, the Sahaba. Now, another important moral that related to the media is to verify the authenticity of the information and the news before rushing and transfer it to the community. يعني التوثق من المعلومة قبل يعني المسارعة في إرسالها إلى المجتمع. So we need so when the news, what I mean by that, when the news reaches you, it becomes your responsibility to verify the authenticity before conveying it. You cannot rely on the authentication of the others. It becomes your responsibility. And this complies with what the hadith mentioned by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. كَفَى بِالْمَرْءِ كَذِبًا أَنْ يُحَدِّثَ بِكُلِّ مَا سَمِعَ. It's enough that the person to lie by narrating everything that he hears. So the hadith over here, the meanings of it, it's restraining the person to narrate everything that he hears without verifying it, without verifying if this is correct or not, if it is correct or not. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is teaching us as a Muslims to be active and aware channels in transferring the information and conveying the message to the community, and not just to be unconscious channel that others uses as a tool to spread rumors and lies in our community. We shouldn't be like that. Unfortunately, the magnitude of that issue became huge and so clear to me, unfortunately, in Corona pandemic. And this is basically against the teaching of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Muslims' identity that we should practice. We need to activate multiple filters, not one filter, multiple filters on every message that we receive before we transfer it to the community. Another important value and an important moral, which is part of our Islamic media ethics, is not to spread insults, bad words, slander, qadf, or accuse people in their honor. And all of you know the hadith of Hadithat al-Ifk, the incident of Hadithat al-Ifk for related to Ummuna Aisha radiallahu anhu ardaha, which is mentioned in the Quran. It's all related to that. Unfortunately, the obscenity, al-fuhsh, in speaking, insulting, cursing, and slandering has become common activity on various social media platforms under the slogan of freedom of speech or freedom of expression. This is not part of our Islamic morals and identity. On the core basis, one of the core bases that differentiate our religion from the other religions is the moral dimension. And I mentioned that in the previous in the episode when I talked about the Madinah's document, where we mentioned that our Islam, يعني, it has morals inside it, and every project, whether it's a media, political, economic, health, social, you will find the moral aspect over there. It's iman coated with moral and coated with bylaws, and even fiqh and faith, all of them are connected to morals. And if you read the fiqh directly from the Quran, you will see that clearly. Read Surah Al-Talaq and Surah Al-Nur. After each bylaw or after each rule, you will find immediately it's connected to, in the ayah, connected to a moral. Another media that Prophet Muhammad also activated in the Medina, which is the poetry. One of the famous companions who was known as the poet of Prophet Muhammad is Hassan ibn Thabit. Also, on the 6th of the year of Hijrah, Prophet Muhammad he went to another level of media by sending letters to all kings and leaders in the area, and that include the top two powers, which is the Roman and the Persian Empire. And he used that tool even when he was he was illiterate, ummi, and he used his ring to stamp the letters that he sent to the leaders. And even he has what we call a complete media system for words, and I won't be able to cover it due to the time limit. Now, the question that comes to my mind after we mentioned those two episodes about the media: where are we as Muslim community and the nation from all of that? Why don't we practice and revive that critical part of Sunnah in our life? One of the weakest points that we have in Muslim countries in general, not all the Muslim countries, but in general, most of the Muslim countries, they have an issue with the media and weakness in the media. Even the immigrant communities worldwide nowadays, we have an issue and a weakness, a huge weakness in the media and communication in general. And one of its symptoms that we fail to communicate the correct image about Islam, even though that we have the luxury to study, to use, and even to establish the media projects here in Canada. Media will help us to convey the da'wah, fighting Islamophobia, correcting the distorted image about Islam. It will help us to build the bridges with the Canadian society from zero distance. And most importantly, it will help us to build bridges of clear, ethical, and trusted communication among us with our children and grandchildren. And it will open communication channels among the Islamic organizations and centers who unfortunately fortified their da'wah behind their centers, masjids, and walls, and behind the organization's membership or behind the community ethnicity. We need to revive the Islamic media as part of our da'wah and communication strategic tools. My dear respected brothers and sisters, as usual, I will conclude the Madinah's media episode with a set of lessons learned, recommendations, and even some of the proposed projects related to the topic in a way to transfer these type of abandoned meanings and sunnahs and to move it from the theoretical dimension to the practical reality. And the following are the top 5 recommendations and projects that came to my mind when I wrote that episode. We need to urge the new Muslim generation to focus more on studying the media and to be professional in it, mainly to serve Islam and the Muslim community by correcting the distorted image about Islam and conveying the da'wah to the world, not even to Canada, to the world in a clear accurate, ethical, and trusted way. And look, some of the YouTube channels that they have 1 million followers, 2 million, 3 million followers, 100 million worldwide. So we need the Muslims to be professional in that area and to utilize it to spread Islam and the da'wah. Also, we need to utilize the social media more effectively in da'wah to correct the distorted image to the society, as I mentioned. But we can do that by doing workshops. We need to discuss that through workshops conducted by specialists in that field in a purpose to see the best ways how to do that, how to utilize the social media efficiently. The third thing is open houses. And I mentioned that when I talked about the masajid and masjid rule, the Madinah masjid. So I consider it one of the best media tools to spread the da'wah and also to fight Islamophobia. Doing open houses in the masajid, exhibitions in the universities to present the right and the full image about Islam to the Canadian society and to remove that type of distorted, unclear image about Islam. We need to do open houses more frequent. And I recommend that we have to do it in a quarterly basis. We need to make it like a culture. I urge also, the fourth one, I urge all my brothers and sisters to practice the guidelines of ethics, accuracy, and authenticating in their messages, especially using the WhatsApp and the other media, social media. Authenticating, accuracy, and the guidelines of ethics in their messages before proceeding in conveying it to the others. Be an active and aware channel, not to be unconscious channel in transferring messages to the others. Besides, fighting rumors and insults, especially in social media, is part of our da'wah. The fifth and the final one that we need, we are in a dire need to enhance the communication between the Muslim organizations as a first step toward reviving the Ummah work and spirit. We cannot revive the Ummah work without communication. We can do it through committee councils. We need all the centers to start to communicate with each other through committee councils, through conventions, through periodical, virtual, or even in-person meetings. In the next episode, inshallah, we will discover the 6 strategic projects that our Prophet Muhammad he carried out in building the Muslim community identity in the Medina. أسأل الله عز وجل أن يجعلنا ممن يحيون سنة نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم في جميع قلوب المسلمين على طاعته ونصرة دينه وممن مرجعهم في كل أمورهم كتاب الله وسنة رسوله إنه ولي وذلك والقادر عليه. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.